Well, good evening and welcome to another version of a mental health review by Kimberly Christian. Tonight I'm going to be reviewing two kids' devotionals, and they look like this. So they might be familiar to you, but I'm just going to talk about them a little bit to you and tell you why they are my choice for using personally and professionally. So I'm going to start with this one. Managing Your Emojis. This is 100 devotions for navigating your feelings. Now, this is written by a therapist, a licensed professional therapist that I have recently connected with because we have so many things in common. And after reading about, her style and reading kind of the reviews of this book, I decided to purchase it for my homeschool co-op class, and I'm so glad that I did, because let me tell you, this thing is awesome. Let me just give you a sample page. Well, first, the table of contents will show you how it's broken up into categories of feelings, like sad feelings, scared, and mad, and happy. And within that, there are anywhere between probably like 50 pages in each of those sections. Now, what I didn't mention at the very beginning is that, yes, this is written by a therapist. The other author may not be a therapist, but she is equally awesome. And it tells you about them at the beginning of this book. So it looks like maybe they're friends. They've written several books together, and really, really great authors. So I'm going to turn this over to like the very beginning. So the very first chapter says sad, embracing hope, and it gives you 4 verses to talk about that are going to be mentioned in the section. And so this first one, what I love about this is that it not only chooses a feeling to talk about, but it chooses a scenario that a kid could relate to. And so this is talking about not being invited. And the authors kind of take turns in sharing experiences that they have had. And because they're both believers, they talk about what they would have done differently had they had this knowledge, or how it's okay to have certain feelings, how Jesus would want us to handle those feelings, all kinds of wonderful things. And just like the devotional style, it's really super short. And then at the end, it says embracing hope, and it asks very thoughtful questions. So if you're wanting to use this as a teacher, like what I've been using, or using it as a parent, which I've also been using it, it gives you questions to ask, because sometimes as parents, we get in over our head. We want them to get a certain message, but we really don't always know how to drive that message home. And so this is asking questions to your child. Think back to a time when your heart hurt. Where were you? Who was there? What did you think about? How did you feel? Now take a moment to bring God into that picture or scene. What would he say to you? How would he comfort you? In the space below, draw what you see, or write any words of comfort God might say to you. And then it gives you like a really short prayer that you can pray with the child or children in your care, giving your sad to God. So another thing I really love about this is it can be used for a lot of different age groups. So right now I'm teaching a homeschool class for 3rd and 4th graders. I also have a 2nd grader that you are probably seeing in the background right now who is doing some homeschool work. And I'm going to be teaching a much younger group of kids for next semester, and I will be adapting it for them. So if you're noticing that, or if you're curious about what the age group is, I don't know exactly what it is. I'm trying to see if it quickly says it on here. It doesn't say that. It might say it in the actual review. You can find this on Amazon, by the way. But I will tell you that anywhere between really, really little kids and probably all the way to maybe middle school, because middle school, there's a whole different variety of devotionals that you can use, but anything up to then is going to be perfect. So if there are questions here that are just a little bit over your kid's head, then obviously you're going to want to change that to something that you think is more appropriate for them, or if the scenario is something that they can't really relate to, you would be able to modify that for sure. But this is such a great way of having confidence that someone has written this that really understands being psychologically and biblically sound. And I know many of you, if you're watching my channel, that's what you're about, because that's certainly what I post on here, is helping you to think biblically about all aspects of your mental health. So that is my review on managing your emojis. I also do like the fact that it ties in the feelings to something that kids know really, really well these days, which is emojis. And I know just from my own experience, don't you love the commentary in the background? Um, One thing I know is that kids, and this is the same for adults, people in general don't always know feelings. They just don't. And so having a book like this where you're showing a picture of a face that they are familiar with because either they have a phone or they have a device of some type, you're helping them to see what it looks like, what it feels like, what it looks like in other people. So you're teaching empathy to them. But most people, unless they have a lot of practice, they don't really understand all the variations of feelings. They might know happy and sad and angry, but they don't know all the nuances in between. And so this creates a really great conversation of, what does this face look like to you? Does this look like a sad face? Have you ever experienced that? Do you ever see anybody in your family that looks like that? Do you know what to do when you see somebody that has this expression on their face? So it just goes on and on. There's so many great things to be able to do with this. My favorite thing about it, I will say, is that it pairs it with scripture. And as a parent and as a teacher, it makes it wonderful to be able to not just say, this is the way you're supposed to be, and God says this, but to directly go to his word and talk about verses that pertain to that subject matter. So you just can't get better than that. So you will easily find this on Amazon. It is very, very affordable, very worth your time and effort managing your emojis. Check this out. Okay, the second one I'm going to do in a very similar vein is The Chosen for Kids. So if you know me at all, you know I'm a huge, huge fan of the TV show The Chosen. And we have so many items from The Chosen gifts in our house. And this is one of the first ones that I ever got to share with my kids. At the time when I bought this, my daughter was, I think, probably around 5th grade. She's now in 7th grade. And so she's kind of transitioned out of this kind of book. But at the time, my youngest one and my middle one, we were using this a lot. Now it's just for my 8-year-old. But I'm going to show you what this looks like. And I think this is the only one they have right now. You can probably find this on Amazon. You could also find it at thechosengifts.com. But here's an example. Again, this ties in a lot of feelings, but more than that, it doesn't just focus on feelings like the other devotional did. So day 3, hope, one of my favorite words. Again, very, very short, probably about a total of 4 pages from the time that you look at what prayer time is, what's next, the Bible verse that it's talking about, and then it has a short devotional, which is about, a page to a page and a half. It pairs it up with not just a Bible story, but usually it's a Bible story that they have depicted in The Chosen. So if you and your family have been watching that, it makes it really cool to have your child hear from the actual Bible, what does it say about that? And then they're able to recall, probably with your help, of, oh, remember the episode at Zebedee's house when Tamar and this other gentleman, or Tamar's friend, they brought him through the roof of the house so that Jesus could heal him. And they're remembering, oh, yeah. And it even says, I think it says on here, maybe it doesn't. Maybe that's just because I know the episode so well. But you would be able to tell your child, oh, yeah, that's in season 1, episode 7, I think. So, but again, the great thing about this is that it is bringing it to the level that a child is going to understand. There's nothing that's going to be over their head. It is extremely solid biblical teaching. So, you can take my word for that. You're welcome to look at this yourself, but it's not coming from any sort of denominational standpoint at all. It is just straight Bible teaching. And so it's teaching you, in this example I'm showing you, it's giving you an example from Luke about the angel coming to Zechariah and saying, don't be afraid. Your prayer has been heard by God. Your wife Elizabeth will give birth to a son. You will name him John. And then they start talking about what God says in his word about hope, and what hope, why it matters, and how you find that in circumstances. But the whole devotional itself is focused on that one story. And then at the very end, it has prayer time. So if you struggle with your child to pray, because I know some people get really super nervous about praying in front of anybody, this just makes it really short and sweet. Thank God for the hope that you have, because he is able to do anything and everything. So even if things are hard right now, ask the Lord to help you trust him. Ask the Lord to be your hope. So that's the prayer. And then it says, what's next? And this is that thoughtful questioning time that you would have with your child. It's okay to have doubts, but God wants you to bring your questions to him. He loves you no matter what. What are some areas in your life where, like Zechariah, you're doubting God's promises? How does Luke 1:37 encourage you? So again, you see how awesome that is, that if you're a parent that maybe you're a new believer, maybe you're new to homeschool, maybe you're new to teaching your children about the Bible, all sorts of scenarios could be going on, and you don't have a ton of confidence yet in being able to pray with them, teach them about the Bible, because maybe you don't feel super confident yourself in that, or knowing how to ask them questions as opposed to just saying, well, what did you hear me say? These questions are asking you, how did this encourage you? Or have you ever had a time where you didn't feel very hopeful about a situation? So it just walks you through it. Each of these devotionals, when you take this one at a time, we usually do this at night in our house. I'm saying 10 minutes or less is all it takes. And it is really, really impactful. So much so that my son, the one that you're seeing in the background here, he doesn't have it memorized by any means, but he's really familiar enough with it that he'll say, oh yeah, let's go to day 9 that says come and see. Because maybe he remembers that when we read that, it had a really good message, a really good Bible verse, or something we do in particular in my house, because we do know The Chosen so well, is that after we watch a particular, I just gave it away. After we read a particular devotional, then I'll show him that episode on my phone. Even if it's not the whole thing, I'll just say, here's the scene that they're talking about. And so it makes it just really, really cool to have these worlds coming together, because, like adults, we learn in certain ways. Well, our kids are exactly the same way. That's how it came about for us. We either learn by being visual or learning by listening to things, learning by writing things down, or learning by actually doing things. And so this concept of doing a devotional with your child is combining a lot of those things. Sometimes they're writing answers down, or you might be writing what they tell you. You're obviously reading this, they're listening to it. And then the component that I like to add is when it's talking about something that I know is depicted in The Chosen, I just pull it up really quickly and say, let's watch that part of the story so that you can actually see. And then here's the cool part. It's awesome to be able to teach them. Here's the part that comes straight out of the Bible. This is straight from John chapter 1. And then you're also able to show them this is the part that they are adding, because it helps create the story. It kind of fills in some gaps that are extremely possible that this conversation would have taken place. But it helps them also not to just look at a TV show and say, oh, this is the Bible, and I'm going to take everything it says as though this is exactly how it, played out. It's really darn close, but no, it's not. There's lots of things that they have added to create a good story where it's not just, bits and pieces. So anyway, again, you would be able to find this in 2 places, at least, maybe more. We got this at thechosengifts.com. You could also probably find this on Amazon. They sell a lot of The Chosen products, not all of them, but sometimes books, sometimes t-shirts, things like that. So if you have any comments about this, or maybe you have purchased one of these before, then please add how you're using it differently so people can see that. I love doing mental health reviews. So if there's anything that you are wanting to see me talk about, please share it. I'm going to look at those comments and I'm going to respond to them. So this is my review on managing your emojis and The Chosen for kids. And have a great day. I will see you next time.